not exaggerating. Probably one of the most powerful calls I've ever ran in my life. Probably one of the most powerful calls I've ever been a part of. There was a lot of tears, a lot of emotions, but like I always want to make sure that whenever we go over things like this, that it's not just a something that hits you in your soul and it feels great in that moment. I want to make sure that we actually implement change and create change. That's my biggest concern. That's Cole's biggest concern. That's all of our concerns here. At the end of the day, way too often I see too many of you guys come in here and it's like, wow, that was life changing. That was great. You guys will talk about it for a little bit, but that is not at all the whole point or benefit of coming to these calls. Um, and I'm letting you know that from an experience where I've become a mentee of some sort in some shape or form. And the best way that I've learned, the best way that I've kind of grown in these last few weeks, few months, was being able to implement. And so, yeah, last night for anybody who wasn't there on that call, and maybe I'd run a lesson like that again. We discussed what we call like behavioral magnetics, okay, which is the understanding that sometimes we may do things that maybe don't make sense or maybe are not even good for us, but it feels like home. It feels familiar. And a model that you guys can all take with you if you want to understand this just a little bit. And I'm not going to go too deep on this, like I said, because this was a totally, totally different lesson. Is if you understand that it feels familiar, it feels safe. If it feels safe, it becomes attractive. And if it becomes attractive, it becomes repeated. Right. And then a big question that I think probably about half of you texted me last night. Cole, I'm going to make you a co-host just in case anybody jumps in here. A big thing you guys asked me is like, well, how can I make sure I break this? How can I forgive myself? Because one of the biggest lessons that I've learned recently is like your circumstances don't weaken you. It's never your circumstances, it's your unforgivingness of yourself. Okay, so really listen to that. Really understand that. The shame you give yourself, the way you degrade yourself, the things you hold on to the past is what keeps your worldview very small, keeps your frame very small. Okay. And then when we are able to start to forgive ourselves, we can start to expand our worldview and look at it from a wider perspective. And it really starts to portray how small some of these problems really are. Your worries will start to disappear. If you zoom out enough, you'll probably just have this perspective, and not probably, you'll definitely have a perspective where, and this is something that I live by, something I know Cole lives by, and that's something that a few of you I've seen on this call probably lives by as well, was like, everything will work out for me. That's a perspective you should have. That should be your worldview. If you live a worldview that's like, things never work out for me, it's never my benefit, and it's always against me, that's your issue. It's the worldview and it's your perspective. But yeah, it goes always comes back to your unforgivingness. It's never your circumstances. So we understand that, okay? But if we understand this and we understand fundamentally that our identity, who we are, how we perceive ourselves, is our operating system, then you'll start to realize you have a lot more control. Okay. And then I want to talk to you guys a little bit before this lesson jumps into, because this is all about forgiveness. This is a lesson about forgiveness. This is not a lesson about, I was going to jump into something super tactical today, but I know that most of these coffee chats are mostly about that emotional side. And I want to make sure we stay on that. And I didn't want to get too tactical, but who is familiar with cognitive dissonance? Raise your hand. Oh, why is my hand up here? Okay. Some of you guys know what it is. I know Cole's talked about it before, right? We've always, and you've heard us say like, hey, it's that separation between like what you say you're doing versus what you're actually doing, what you believe you are versus what you're actually doing. I want to give you guys a very simple definition of what cognitive dissonance really is. Okay. And this is just like the no bullshit version, I guess, whatever you want to say. It's your brain's built in alarm system against humiliation. Your brain's built in alarm system against humiliation. It's the mental equivalent to touching a hot stove. Okay. And your human brain, our brain, will set fire to reality before it lets its identity collapse. So I'll break this down into like a little formula for yourselves, right? This is the operating system of the mind. Your identity, label that as the operating system. Your reality is incoming data, incoming information. And then dissonance, cognitive dissonance, is the firewall. It distorts or deletes data to prevent a crash. Do we all understand this? Do you guys get this? Or is it going way over your heads? Let me know because I can break it down even further. I have a little story here that'll make it a lot more clearer for anybody who's not really following right now.
Can you
Yeah.
repeat the second one?
Yep.
The reality one?
Yep. Yep. Identity is the operating system.
Yeah, yeah.
Reality is incoming data. And dissonance is the firewall. It distorts or deletes data to prevent a crash. And when I give you this perspective here, when I give you this story, it's going to make a lot more sense to you guys. You're like, oh, okay, that's what it is. Okay. And we're going to have a huge lesson this week on cognitive dissonance and like how you utilize it. Cause I firmly believe this is probably the closest thing you could probably get to 100% predictability and influence is just being able to utilize this properly. But I'll take you guys back and you can look this up. This is a real story. To 1954, there was a cult in Chicago. And I'm sure there's probably other scenarios that you can relate this to that you've probably seen this. Like, this isn't the first time you've heard a story like this, but they were like dead certain that the world was about to end. They were like, the world's going to end. They sold their homes, quit their jobs, cut ties with friends. They totally committed to like this idea that like world was done, right? Because their cult leader, right, they told them that aliens would arrive at midnight and save the faithful. And then when the night came and nothing happened, there was no ships, there was no world end. What do you think they did? Did they, oh, well, we're stupid. Oh, this, that. No. Instead of admitting that they were wrong, the cult doubled down on their beliefs. They didn't walk away. They didn't become, distraught. It was like they were more convinced than ever. More than ever. And why is that? Because their brains couldn't handle the contradiction between their entire identity and the reality of what was in front of them. So they invented a new story. And that's that their faith had saved the planet. That was the new identity, right? Orhan, I see it's you're just rolling with you now. You get it. I see you shaking your head over there. It's good. And now this isn't like a rarity, guys. I understand this. It's not like a rarity. This isn't like, oh wow, it's an anomaly, right? That just happened one time. This happens all of the time with all of us, all of the time. And so even if you think about like investors, if you guys remember like Enron, right? Where like if you know anything a little bit about like anything about like that space, like you could just tell that it was just fraudulent from a mile away, but like they rode that to the dirt, right? Or even how like people today they chain themselves to politicians, influencers, that no matter how bad the scandals erupt or the betrayals or whatever it is like that they've done, they will never admit, right, the betrayal, because that means that they have to rewrite who they are as a person. And your human brain, again, will set reality on fire before it lets its identity collapse. And if you want to get really personal, it's probably some of you guys in some of your relationships with people you know aren't serving you. And it's like, oh, he was just, raised by a bad family, just doesn't know any better, right? You're just protecting, they're kind of compensating, right? You could say that to Sank if you wanted to. Confirmation bias, it's similar. But this applies in so many different ways, man. Like there's so many different, because even when we go back to like we talk about like labeling and like identity and all these other things, like it's like somebody can just say, like a negative a dissociation or a positive association, and you can just be like, oh wow, yeah, that's exactly what it is, yeah, and it can totally disagree with something that they're actually doing and just agree with the other side because of what you said. It's so much more powerful than what you think. But again, this is not a lesson about cognitive dissonance. I'm just letting you guys. I'm letting you guys know. And when we talk about the identity here, a lot of these things that we will do, a lot of these things that like it will kind of almost knowingly are wrong, and we'll do them anyway and repeat these mistakes, are because of our worldview, our identity, our perspectives, and the things that we're holding on to that we just haven't let go of. The shame that we give ourselves, right? We push ourselves with this judgment. We judge ourselves, and we create this separation. We create these bad habits. We create these redundant outcomes, right? And then you'll probably have these moments where you're like, oh, here we go again. Like, always happens. Nothing works out for me. All this stuff, right? And why is that? And it could be the simplest things, guys. It could be the simplest things. Like whenever you're like, oh, I have to do it, I just don't do it. You're doing what feels familiar and safe, even if it's not right, even if it's not correct. That is what the brain yearns for. That is what it is. That's why Instagram is bad for you, but like you continue to just slide on it, and sometimes you'll exit out of it and then go right back to it like 10 seconds later, even though you literally just exit out of it because you're doing what feels familiar. It's just this redundant cycle. And that's a small one. That's a small one. And so this one's going to make a lot more sense for everybody who's here last night on the behavioral magnetic side. But regardless, if we just want to talk about one thing here, it's understanding that like we all look at our external circumstances and the things that are in front of us and we think that's like what's weakening us and that's why I'm in my situation, that's why I'm in my scenario. It never is that. It never is. The main lesson I want you guys to understand for jumping into this one today is that your unforgivingness is what weakens you. It's that past you're holding on to. And so today, when we're talking about forgiving yourself, this is the perspective that I have where, and this is a little bit of a process. It's not just jumping into like, I need to forgive myself. We're just going to do that. No, I call this almost like, and the reason I mentioned the cognitive dissonance stuff and all of that together is like, this is almost like purifying your identity. That's the best perspective I can give you. And I kind of just made that up and said that what I was going to say today. Just kind of like purifying your identity. And so we're going to run through a couple questions here where, because a lot of questions that I've seen in the last month are like, oh, how do I know who I want to become? Or how do I know which direction I'm going? Or how do I know this? And all these just like, you're just questioning a bunch of these things. Let's just make it super, super simple and make the foundation so clear to where there is no such thing as failure. There is no such thing. And the reason why this is a powerful lesson is because I built this off of my own experience. My own experience. This is literally what has shifted me in my life as a coach, as a leader, as a friend, as a person. And even when we think we're doing good or good enough, there's so much more to do and so much more to change. But this is what's giving me the clarity that I've needed in my life, even at a point where I felt like I was already somewhat successful. And so I think that all of you guys can benefit from this. So we got about 12 questions here. I recommend you guys all write this down. I could send you a doc, but I think it's more powerful if you do it right now. There might be a little bit of emotions, right? It's okay if, again, last night, like I said, there's no judgment. People were crying last night. Some people had to step away. Again, we got a little deep last night. I will share some deep stuff that I've written down myself so you guys won't feel alone. You guys shouldn't feel embarrassed to write some of these things down, or you shouldn't feel like this is like, oh, this is too deep for me. Like this is where the growth happens. So we'll start with a few easy ones, and then we'll work our way up. Okay. Yeah, this is about identity, Shubik. This is about identity and like who you're going to become. Yeah, this is about identity. So I'll break it down for you guys so you guys don't have the anticipation. We're going over identity first, then you're going to release the resistance, and then we're going to go into forgiveness. Okay, this kind of sounds like that sounded super deep for some reason. I don't know why, but let's dive into it. Let's have some fun. So number one, the question you want to ask first is, who do I desire to be? Who do I desire to be? And just so you know, this is a reference from Project 369. I built this lesson this morning, and partially some of this from my mentor, Chase Hughes. So just so you guys understand where we're getting all this context from. Number two, how does this being behave? What does this being do? How does this being behave? What does this being do? And I'm saying that specifically because we just don't own that identity just yet. It shouldn't be the exact same thing that you're doing right now. Because if all of us were perfect, trust me, if all of us were perfect, then we wouldn't be searching to change our identities. And there's always more to grow into. And if you don't realize that, that just means you don't have an understanding of where you want to go just yet. And that's okay. So number one, who do we desire to be? Who do I desire to be? All right, this is speaking to yourself. So don't put we, put I. And then this one, again, number two, how does this being behave? What does this being do? And I wasn't exaggerating, guys, in that message that I said earlier. Like, this is like a permanent fix. Like, I'm telling you guys from literal experience, like literally, I don't I don't think I've felt this composed and assured in myself ever, like ever. So it's super powerful, super powerful. Number three, what skills and abilities does this being have? What skills and abilities does this being have? If you miss any of them, guys, I'll go back at the end, okay? Uh, Number 4, what is unique about this being? What is unique about this being? Number 5, what are your desires, passions, inspirations? What are your desires, passions, and inspirations? Number 6, how can or are you serving others through them? How can, so it says can you slash are you, that's how I just put that. Serving others through them. Number 7, how can you slash are you generating income through them? How can you slash are you generating income through them? Number 8, how can you slash are you fulfilling your purpose through them? And number 8 again, how can you or are you fulfilling your purpose through them? You got about 4 more here, guys. Number 9, what does my ultimate dream life look like? What does my ultimate dream life look like? And I'm going to kind of take back what I said about the purifying the identity thing, guys. I don't think this is purifying. I don't think anybody has a problem within themselves. I think sometimes you're just a little lost. Let me just not say purifying. We're just going to shape shift a little bit here and just create a stronger identity. That's it. Not purify. So I take back what I said. What does my ultimate dream life look like? I've said that to you guys before. So some of these questions you maybe seen before. Some of these questions probably answered before. But it's really good to do chronologically like this. Number 10. What am I doing every day in this life? What am I doing every day in this life? And this one's verbalized really weird. So it says, what beliefs is number 11? What beliefs are being reflected back to me in this life? But essentially, like, what beliefs does this person have? That's all it is. What beliefs does this being have in this life? And then number 12, last one, is what choices and actions led me to living this life? It's probably my favorite question out of all of them. What choices and actions led me to living this life? Is there any of these you guys need me to repeat? I can run through it one more time if you guys just want to just make sure you have all of them. Number 11. Yeah, Orhan, I like the speed. What beliefs does this being have in this life? I'll run through it all top to bottom really quick, just in case. Number 1, it's going to be fast, so just rapid fire. Number 1, what do I desire to be? Number 2, how does this being behave? What does this being do? Number 3, what skills and abilities does this being have? Number 4, what is unique about this being? Number 5, what are your desires, passions, and inspirations? Number 6, how can you slash are you serving others through them? Number 7, how can you slash are you generating income through them? Number 8, how can you slash are you fulfilling your purpose through them? Number 9, what does my ultimate dream life look like? Number 10, what am I doing every day in this life? Number 11, what beliefs are being reflected back to me in this life? Meaning, what beliefs does this person have, this being have? Simply. And then number 12, what choices and actions led me to living this life? Are we good? Can I get a thumbs up? Cool. Yeah, that is intentional to just like I said earlier, because you're not that person yet, you shouldn't be. Because if it is, if you're already that person, there's nothing that you need to shift with your identity, which I just think that just means you're just trying to end up just being the same person because it feels familiar. There should be something like above you, right? That's why you say being for now. Yeah, Marcus. What choices and actions led me to living this life? That's honestly the most powerful one. That's the one that like when you write that one down, that's the one where it's like this is what the fuck I need to do. And it's funny when you do it chronologically. Again, I don't want you guys to fill this out right now. When you do this, I don't need you to write it out right now. I want you to do it in chronological order intentionally because you'll start to see how like you'll look back and think to like, oh well, this is what I would do. Okay, this is gonna compound it, and you'll start to see like it brings like this almost like there's this outer thought, like this outer consciousness that you haven't seen before because you're just thinking in that future state, and you're like, wow, really, really cool, really, really cool. Okay, okay, cool. So that is part one of the exercise today, right? Identity. I saw some questions in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I'll answer it towards the end. Just bear with me. I want to move through this because I think this is. I don't want to go over on time. I actually have a call at 12, unfortunately, and I just don't want to not be able to finish this. So we're talking about releasing the resistance, and I'm actually going to reference what I wrote in here. Okay. And again, I would never have you guys do something that I've never done before. And when I talk about releasing resistance, this is how you will actually start to become the identity, because these are the things, these two things here, right? The resistance and the forgiveness is what's going to stop us from becoming that person. So we need to run through this part as well. Okay. And so when we're thinking about releasing resistance, you're going to write the feelings or emotions that are causing inner resistance. And then you're going to observe the story behind it. Right. And then you're going to correct the perceptions by some sales shit right here, reframing the story with the truth. Okay. And so, again, I'm going to give you examples and I'm going to actually share with you guys what I wrote down. Okay. Emotions can be afraid, hopeless, lost, sad, insecure, frustrated, resentful, unworthy, perfectionism, fear, overwhelm, anxiety, right? And then your story will look something along the lines of like, oh, I'll always be alone because I'm difficult to love, or people like me never get ahead because of where I come from and how I was raised. I have everything to do, or I have to do everything perfectly, or else I will fail. But now the truth for something like I'll always be alone because I'm difficult to love is I am inherently lovable just as I am. I am the embodiment of love. I'm never truly alone because I'm whole and complete within myself. I'm grateful for all the experience that have led me to loving myself more. Right. If we're talking about people like me never get ahead because of where I come from and how I was raised, my background is what makes me unique. The way I was raised has given me unique strengths and perspectives that set me apart. I've grown and evolved from the past, and it is by evolving from my past that I can now create my abundant future. I am the creator. I create my own path. I have limitless opportunity. It doesn't have to be this like woo woo rah rah shit. Okay. I didn't do anything like that, but I'm giving you guys examples. And the last one, I have to do everything perfectly or else I will fail. And some of these are probably resonating with you right now, and that's cool. That's fine. Do not copy this and make this your own. I see now that imperfection is perfection because perfection is not the goal. Growth, expansion, evolution is. I'm going to learn and embrace all of my imperfect steps because I know they will lead to huge transformations. I'm now allowing myself to grow and evolve without pressure of perfection. I don't care what anyone else thinks about me. I love all of me. Again, this is like bumper stickery kind of shit. It doesn't have to be that way. I will literally just read you guys what I wrote. This is literally my handwriting. It's dog shit handwriting, but understand it doesn't matter. I don't think I could even read this that well, but my feeling, my emotion, truthfully, was anxiety. Surprise. Yes. Like we all feel anxiety. Maybe not surprise. Who knows? But my belief, my story is, and this is something I wrote probably about a month ago, believe it or not. I said, right now, I'm not good enough. That was my story. That was my belief. And what I said was it'd be impossible to be something I have never, ever accomplished before on my own. Right? I said, accept not being good, take your own advice you give everybody else, and grow a little more, JJ. This is your journey. Right? I shifted it to that perspective where I felt like I had to be this like perfect example. And again, there's no perfect way to do this, guys. This is like my interpretation of my story, what I need to tell myself, right? And like, and even then, that wasn't even like a story. But the thing was, is like, it's not that I'm not good enough. It's that I've never accomplished running a $10 million a year company on my own. I was a part of it, but I never ran it as myself. Right. And that's where you guys want to be honest with yourself. There's no right or wrong way to do this. You just need to be able to reframe this in your mind and understand why this is happening to you. Right. And just reframe it as something that's actually positive. Reframe it as something that, like, hey, this is part of me. This is part of the journey because none of us are fucking perfect. That is the truth. Right. And it should be a little difficult. It should be a little hard. It should feel a little uncomfortable. But I want all of you guys to do the same thing. If you guys don't want to do it right now, it's just emotions, story, and the truth. What is your reframe? What are you reframing it to? And when I look back at it, bro, I'm telling you guys, like, even just reading it, it's like, I know the pain that I was feeling in these days. I know how I was waking up and how I was feeling by not feeling good enough. But when I go back and I reference the who am I, it's funny how I've just became that person and this is gone. There's no resistance. Not even a little bit. And I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. Like, this has been the fucking hardest week of my fucking life. And I can't share exactly what it is. I don't know for sure. I still have to go check up on some things on myself. But the whole thing is, like, it's the hardest week of my fucking life. But there's no sign. It's complete composure because it doesn't fucking matter. I had to show up and do my fiduciary duty here, which is show up for you guys. That's it. Right. But if this was 2 weeks ago and I found out what I found out this week, I wouldn't be able to do this right now. At least at this level of what I'm doing it. So that's what I mean, guys. I'm not here to like fucking toot my own fucking horn, but it's understanding like that's what changes. Because I'm telling you, you can ask Cole, like you can literally ask Cole the shift. He can tell you. He's called me and he's like, dude, I haven't seen this before, but I haven't seen it either. That's the difference. I created this myself. I understand that. And I'm telling you, only to just solidify the proof that like this is an identity shift that anybody can make. It's a decision. It's just change. It's a little bit of change. And honestly, to be really, really frank, it's funny. You might even feel uncomfortable in peace because peace might not be familiar to you. Because again, we're not chasing what's safe. We're not chasing what's safe literally. We're chasing what's familiar. And for some of you, peace has never been something that's familiar, and that's okay. But that's what we need to go to. Chris, can you save your question to the end if you don't mind? I'm sorry, man. You can shoot me a text if it's really something that's vital. If you don't want to forget it. But let's move on to forgiving. Okay. When we're talking about forgiving, you want to put I forgive, right? So who you're forgiving, why you're forgiving them, and then I need you guys to send them off with love. Okay. Send them with love. And I will share with you guys what I wrote again, because I want you guys to know that like this isn't something that I'm just bullshitting you guys on. I'm like, just, hey, like this is a little lesson we're doing today. I'll give you the example and I'll share you what I wrote. All right. Yeah, I'll repeat it, Tamim. It's I forgive, why I forgive, and send them with love. So here's the example. This is not mine. Okay. I've got a great dad in my life, fortunately. But this one says, I forgive my father for abusing me mentally, physically, and emotionally. I forgive him because I know that he was only trying to love me the only way he knew, and he only did it based on how he was taught. I now know it's not his true self, and I send him unconditional love. Right? That's the perspective. And it doesn't have to sound like that. Again, this is an example because, like, even like for me, if I think back to like, I guess I can tell you guys transparently, like my own father has struggled with his father. I've seen my 55-year-old dad cry because his dad has never told him he loves him and still search for that love. Right. And I'm not sitting here saying to lie to yourselves and say, like, oh, I know it's not his true self. But like the truth is that that's his dad's first time on this earth trying to raise a kid. And he did it the best way he could. He didn't know any better. That's the truth. So you don't have to say, oh, it's his true self. It's this, it's that. No, you can say whatever you want. Really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be exactly that. Do not lie to yourselves, but just look at it from a perspective of like, where's the good that I can see out of this? This always stems back to that stuff we talk about with the lenses of life. I don't know if all of you have been there for that. But as you start to grow and ascend in consciousness, and the reason I say that is because, again, you can refer to it as anything. You'll start to realize at the highest levels of consciousness, there's more compassion, there's more empathy, there's more understanding, there's no judgment. And at the lowest levels of life, the way we perceive people is from a perspective of judgment, Or like you guys could even judge me right now for fucking stuttering right there. You could, oh, this guy fucking stuttered. It could be that simple. Or you could walk by somebody on the stream like, look at this guy's pants right here. It's the first thing you think of is judgment, judgment, judgment. And you're just programmed to do that versus being like, man, that can be the only pair of pants that he has. Right. Or like genuinely, like now when I used to judge myself for like the stuttering shit, but it's like, I don't even think about it. It's like not even a thought anymore. Like, who fucking cares? It really doesn't matter. And then you understand at the end of the day, like everything is a mirror. It's a mirror. Everything in life is a mirror at the highest level of life. But if I don't want you guys to think about the highest levels, I want you to think about getting to like level 2, level 3, and level 4, releasing judgment, having more compassion, having more empathy, forgiving people more. But what I will always say, it's going to start with yourself. And this is why you need to forgive yourself. Right. And funny enough, before I even truly understood this, before I truly understood this, that we had to figure ourselves out, I didn't figure this out till fairly recently. This was a month ago that I wrote this down. And the first person that I forgave was myself. And that was it. Like I was lucky enough to live my life and not envy people and not be upset with people, not hold on to that. I'm lucky enough to do that. But the person I was hardest on was myself. And that's what I can guarantee a lot of you probably do as well. Right. So I'll read you guys what I wrote and we can go from there. And I'll tell you guys a finishing off little lesson that I think would benefit all you guys, right? So I wrote very simply, I forgive myself, and this is mind you, this is forgiving my past self, right? Forgiving my past self. And some of the stuff was present now, but this is just like the things that I gave shame to me for. Okay. I forgive myself for being an ego driven human, for doing wrong to people that I love, and lying from a young age to feel better about some situations. Um, but through this, I was able to learn the integrity and truth, right? Through this experience, right? Um, it was the way I was sorry, I can't even read my handwriting. It was the way that I learned integrity and truth, right? And so this version of me no longer exists, but I love him unconditionally for creating the JJ I am today, right? Because if you really think about these old versions of ourselves, they are what create us, if you really think about it. And again, this is stuff that I was holding on to from probably high school or even earlier. Um, and that's what I want you to think back to that far. Because if you're really thinking about like the behavioral magnets, a lot of that comes from like your earliest memories of childhood as well. That's the truth. That's where you start to learn those behaviors. If you think about life scripts, right? And the scripts that were created, it stems from when you're at the youngest age. And so if it's yourself, it could be multiple people, it could be multiple things. It could be a friend who has a better job than you. It could be an ex-girlfriend. It could be a significant other's new partner. Who knows? Whatever you're dwelling on. I don't know. But forgive them. Create that create that clarity in your mind so you don't hold on to these barriers. But from this day on, from today on, if you do this correctly and you actually just execute, you'll never have to question yourself or how you will get to your goal, right? Because right now, you created your future you and you forgave your past self. And all you need to do from here on, and this is literally my own fucking words, my own experience, is just continue to prove to yourself that you are who you believe you are and have written down. And the byproduct of that will be the life that you want. That's it. It's that simple. And so as long as you guys execute on that side, I do not see why you guys won't accomplish every single thing that you wrote out to do. And that's a lesson for today. Questions?
I just want to go first and say that I'm so grateful how the universe aligned this chat because I needed to hear this, like personally. And like this is maybe turned into my favorite coffee chat that's ever been done. And it wasn't even me doing it. So I thank you.
Thanks, cool. Chris Velasquez.
Yeah, so first off, I want to say yeah, thank you for that because honestly, like from yesterday and from what I wrote down, and don't worry, I can even read my own handwriting either, so you're good. And it's just like when you said the story, I love saying like I forgive, or I think it was just like I don't know, you said something like before some story like before you got into like I forgive, why, and send love. With that story, will we have to use like the 12 questions we wrote down for the first part to like who we desire to be and everything for that?
Oh, the story about like so I was just giving you examples of the so I can explain that to you. So that's two, it's all separate. Okay. So I'll send you the steps if you guys want to see it step by step. So it's the identity piece that we're creating, then you're releasing resistance. So the identity piece is what we're chasing. The resistance, so this is the emotions, the story and truth, right? So it's like I'll go back to what I said here, right? So the emotion that I was feeling, Chris, just so you understand, was anxiety, right? And the story was like for me is that like right now I think I'm not good enough. That's what I kept telling myself. Is that every day I would wake up, I swear to God, I would wake up, I'm not good enough. I would wake up every single day and I beat myself up. And then I shifted the truth, and I didn't give you stories. Those weren't like stories to like inspire you, or like it's just examples of just like how you'd reframe it. So you can reframe it to however you want, Chris. If you need help with that, I can help you with it. But all it is essentially that you're reframing whatever it is that you were saying, your story is to a new truth. That's what it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if I do need more understanding, I can send you a message. But I do have some questions on something else, but I'll just send through that chat because it is a couple. So I do appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that's fine. You can, yeah, just shoot me a message, Chris. I mean, again, you always ask great questions, but if it's going to be a bunch, just because for sake of time, if we have time towards the end, I'll bring you back up, man. I just want to make sure everybody can get their chance here.
Yeah,
Okay.
but no, it's like a couple, so I'm just gonna save them because again, you do have a call and like there's other people here. Like, no, I respect your time, no, seriously, but do appreciate it. Thank you.
I respect you respecting everybody else's time here too. Cool. Thank you. JJ, go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so there was a part at the beginning where we were writing down the beliefs of the person that we want to be, right? So how can we make our current beliefs? I hope this doesn't repeat everything that you have said so far, but like
Mhm.
how can we match our current beliefs with that of that person after forgiving ourselves? Like trying to match those beliefs.
So, okay, you said, how can we match our current beliefs? Is that what you said? Your current beliefs with the future beliefs? Is that what you're saying?
No, no, no. I know you go, how do you reframe, yeah, your current beliefs to match those of the person that you want to become?
So, this is where it's difficult, and I can share what I wrote, right? I can share what I wrote because sometimes you might need to create new beliefs, right? And so and this is before I did all the resistance stuff. So you want to actually, it's funny. I want you. The thing is, you might go back, look at this text, and have different answers after you release resistance and forgive yourself, because the answers you have are still coming from you right now. The reason I said do it chronologically is it almost forces you to think in that future version of yourself, JJ. Right. But I also did a lot of these responses, I realized, out of the pain of what I was feeling. Does that make sense? So that's why I kind of did it this way, so you guys can see what I wrote, so you understand. You could almost do it in reverse order if you really wanted to, but if you did it chronologically, it would still be powerful as well. But I would, whether you do it, the order I gave it to you now, or you do it in reverse order. What I want you to do is just make sure you cross check with your responses to make sure that still aligns, because you'll start to realize like you'll shift and you'll have totally different answers. So this is what I wrote. I said my beliefs were, I'm the best, I'm changing the world, and I'm an influence. Which, funny enough, you might think those are beliefs you have already. Because I used to always say, I'm changing the world, I'm changing the world. But the funny thing was my actions, it created cognitive dissonance. It's just funny. It's going to be a big lesson next week. I created cognitive dissonance in myself where like my actions weren't really aligning with my beliefs. And the person that called me out was Cole. He called me out on it. And I felt that. And so what I had to do was either I shifted my identity or I shift my reality. and I shifted my identity to change my reality around me because I was like, no, he's right. And so the actions I was doing on a day to day just were not aligned, and that's it. And so, but that also, when I read this now, stems from that pain that I was feeling. This is what I was desiring. So what I'm saying here is like, just write out the beliefs that you think you want, that you believe that person has. And then when you're done with this, with the resistance and the forgiving, you should probably go back and see if those beliefs are still the same and see if they change. And after that, I think you probably have your own answer, to be honest. I don't know if you're unmuting. Go ahead, JJ. Any other questions on that?
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, don't overthink it. Don't overthink that. I'd rather you just be simple on that. And sometimes, honestly, guys, sometimes we just don't know our beliefs. The reason I say do this chronologically is you start to almost like create this person that feels real. And you're like, oh, well, I know what beliefs this person would have. And so you'll see how it compounds. Louis.
Can you hear me now? Two
Yeah.
rapid fire questions on the 12 questions. When it says them, questions 6 through 9 or 6 through 8, are you talking about our highest self? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's in the third person. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool. And number 12, what choices and actions led me to live this life? Is it talking about this current life or the future self, highest
Future
self?
self. Future self. That's why I said it's the best question. That's the best one because that just literally writes out the actions and the steps that you would have to take. Right. And when I wrote out mine, it's so funny because this actually creates cognitive dissonance in yourself, guys. If you just realize this, it's what it's really doing. I wrote preparing, doing everything I say, well, being incongruent and like making the hard decisions. And after that day, I made a very, very hard decision, like a very, very hard, 3 very hard ones, to be honest. But I did it. And that's what shifted everything. I'm not even joking. And I'm telling you guys, like, if I showed you my calendar, my life, my days, I mean, even honestly, to be quite frank with everybody, I mean, you guys see me a lot. I'm pretty sure you guys probably see somewhat of a shift, just a little bit. But even at the quality of these lessons, I'm sure you guys feel that. That's for sure. I can say that with every ounce of my body that these are a million times more powerful than any other lesson that we've done in a very, very long time. Right. And that's what I mean. Like Cole has always brought that fire, and you guys are always like, wow, this is so inspiring. And I would always say, damn, like, what is Cole doing that I don't understand? But there's a level of preparation. There was a level of an identity that he needed to align with himself. And I was like, there's something that I'm not seeing. Like, how can I catch up? And that's why I felt like I was behind. And I understood that. And so I was like, I made a vow to myself that I'm going to be able to create these more powerful lessons and really influence you guys. And I'm not saying influence in like persuade, but in the influence in the sense of like, I that's if I'm changing the world, this is what impact feels like. And I had to really like almost like relearn what impact really was. Right. And almost like figure out a new level of what's required. So that one is probably my favorite question on that list out of the 12. That one is one of the best because then all you have to do is just do those actions and you'll start to see it's like it compounds. And then it's just you proving to your brain that you're that person. Because honestly, guys, it's so transparently. Like if you want to really be transparent with yourselves, if someone was to question how good you were at sales, and I'm just saying sales is what we all do as a career. If somebody was to question, even I don't know what else you guys are good at, but if someone was to question you on like how good you are at something, and you think maybe just a little bit that would bother you, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Something is off. That means you're not doing something. And the thing is, it might feel a lot more painful for some of you. It might feel like just a little bit. But if you're doing everything you prove to yourself time and time and time again, right? And if someone was to come to me like, and question my leadership or question me, they're not fucking moving me. There's nothing they're going to move. There's nothing they're going to change at all. There's not a little ounce of influence that they're going to have on me because I proved to myself who I am. That's it. And that's what you guys need to do. Genuinely, it's that simple. There's no shortcut. There's no anything. That's the truth. It's just proving to yourself. But the shortcut is like now you know what it is. Just prove to yourself that you are that person. Right. So Sasank, good to see you, bro.
What's up, dude? The question is, I've done similar exercises like this, and I've been able to shift different beliefs that I've had in the past. But there are certain beliefs that I've tried to do this with, and yeah, there's like some momentum, and then I kind of get pulled back in that old identity again. More specifically, I mean, I've talked to you about fear of the unknown and fear of failure and not being good enough and all that kind of stuff. So how do you complete that shift like fully and never go back? Is it just that when I'm doing exercises like this, I'm not going deep enough? Like how do I fully make that shift?
It's a really good question. When you're sharing that, just think like I'm without the context. This goes back to what we were talking about last night, right? Because, and I'm going to send it here in the chat just because I think this is actually going to resonate with you a little bit more than anything I can share with you. And one of these are going to click in your brain here. So Sank, and this is all powerful for everybody else too. These are the 4, and I think I'm going to redo this lesson. This lesson last night, genuinely, honestly, like I felt the emotion in that room last night. And one of these is causing this redundant outcome, right? And this is a conversation you and I can have privately, so saying truthfully. It's going to stem from one of these things, right? Because if it pulls you back and you know it's not good for you, it's a gravity hole. It's just matching your oldest pain, right? And this is like where we're like we need to like rewire this. And I say rewire because it just sometimes can be a funny word. But here, dude, I don't want. If I jump into this lesson, this is when is where it gets deep. This one, I'm just saying, I'm gonna go over this lesson again. Maybe I'll do like a surprise call next week or something where we go over it because I think this one would really hit you. Shoot me a call. I'll help you with something. I'll help you with this and walk you through this a little bit more privately, but just not after this, unfortunately, because I do have a call with Oscar Owen. So I just it's a content call. I have to be on there, but what I want you to understand, like, is there's an equation for all of this, right? And so this is, I guess, what you could ask yourself is like, so how you can see it in yourself. It's an acronym, it's or an equation even. It's BPS equals M. So behavior pattern source equals one of the 4 that I just sent here. Okay. And so behavior is like, what is this person doing? This is how you would identify in somebody else, but this is something you can ask yourself. And this is something that we can really like break. Like I promise you, like this would probably be more valuable than like 3-4 years of therapy, right? And so again, these like, whether they're beliefs or their behaviors, the thing is, if you're doing this redundant outcome and this redundant behavior, it's going to be from this actually. So it's like, what is this person doing that is not matching what they say they want? Right? And is it a one-off or does it repeat itself? And so since it repeats itself, it's like when the behavior repeats itself despite consequences, it's a behavior driven by a magnet. It's driven by a magnet. And the source, we need to understand this. Like, why does this behavior feel like it's protecting them? And protecting them from what? Is it rejection, vulnerability, feeling out of control, or not being needed? Right? And those are the things that you'll probably start to go through. And then we have to just identify which magnet it is in ourselves. And then I'll give you like the whole detail of how you can overcome this and what it's going to look like. But I think that's worth going over with everybody again, because it was a fun lesson last night. But think about that, Sasank. See if that applies to you. Again, just because you only have 5 minutes, shoot me a text. Let me know if this does resonate. I mean, it could be totally off here, but if it is something that resonates, you see like, okay, that kind of makes sense. I see this. Then I'll just talk you through it, and I'll send you what you need. But Marcus.
Right. Yeah. Actually, so exactly like what he asked was a little bit of the kind of same thing, but it was more, because I understand, all the questions you asked as well, the identity thing. But for example, let's say on I forgive, right, and I forgive, I do, why, and all these kind of things. Like, I only consider this kind of slipping into kind of old patterns. I'm not saying like I'm gonna do, but like when I'm doing it. So there's like, how do I make sure that might be kind of a little bit same as Susanne said, but how do you make sure that you completely get rid of it? That is not like falling back in your mind, or it's not falling back in your, like, how do you completely get rid of that thing for the forgiveness part, not the other questions and the things.
Yeah. To be honest, Marcus, I know that probably feels like a great question to ask, but I think like you should execute first before even thinking about that. That shouldn't even be a thought that came in your mind. But this shows me that there's more things that you're concerned about, where like security is something that you value a lot, right? You're thinking past this because like, I don't want to get there and then lose it, right? You're already thinking like 2 steps ahead and already assuming in the negative. Which, or again,
Yeah,
even if it's not, you could be like, oh, but I'm trying to make sure it stays there. But I promise you, Marcus, you execute, unless this is something that you've seen happen to you before,
that
right?
was what I was gonna say.
Then I'm going to
Because
point.
like sometimes I'll try to like kind of let it go, right? And then
Mhm.
it come back a little bit in my head, which is like
Mhm.
how to. Because I haven't gone as deep as that you've mentioned now. I might just be like, yeah, I do, then just let it go. But like, yeah, you know what I mean. So that's kind of why I asked as well.
Yeah, because again, now this is something where like this could be more of a magnet than it is like a belief or a thought, and it could be something that you're repeating just through actions. So like, it's a different conversation if it is, but regardless, like for anybody, like this is where that part comes into play. Unless you did exactly this exercise and it was exactly this step by step, and you did complete all of this, like this is where like I wouldn't even be concerned about that just yet, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
we'll start to see like it's almost like self-sabotage in a weird way, right? And it actually really is because you're just like, but what if this and what if that? And it's like, let's run through this exercise first and run through. Because the thing is, this is where like you're thinking with that small mind, that mind of like, maybe this won't work out, like the circumstances. It's just let's execute. You'll see, because again, like as you start to change your behaviors, you'll start to see that you'll start to become a different person. It literally will just shift you. Because then again, like then that version of Marcus who is just always executing, who's doing this, who's doing that, who's doing whatever, he doesn't ask those questions. And I'm not saying that like in like a goofy way. I'm saying it genuinely. Like there's never a morning that like I wake up and I'm like, oh man, I'm nervous about this. I'm nervous about that. Like there's nothing for me to be concerned about. Because as long as you execute and you do those things, and I'm not just saying in the sense of like just execute and aimlessly execute. No, it's like you will start to see how like your reality will shift to that new person, that new Marcus. And then even a concern like that, you'll go back and look at yourself and be like, why did I ask a question like that? I was just so afraid of like just accomplishing something and losing it. Right. And so that's probably something that's happened to you before and an experience in your life where you've been able to accomplish something and you've lost it. And it creates a wound in yourself, like a security wound. Right. Some people like make a lot of money and they lose all of it and they make money again. Like, oh, I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it. It's just a wound inside yourself. And I'm not saying that's what it is exactly right now, Marcus, but that's where it's stemming from for sure. And so I would just say like, the only reason I'm not going to answer that question is because that's going to be in your subconscious mind. Like, well, if I fuck up, then I can always look at this or fuck up. Just don't even think of an alternative because, like,
Yeah, no,
you really won't need it.
sense.
You won't
100%,
need
man.
it.
Yeah.
Jordan, good to see you,
Yeah,
bro.
Same, man.
yeah, good,
Yeah, it
good to
was
see
great
you too,
listening, man.
JJ. So my question was on one of the 12. It said, what is unique about this being? So my question was the uniqueness. What is the reference point for the uniqueness? Is it like unique to your old self or unique to like people in your environment? Like what is the reference point for the uniqueness?
Uh, I kind of leave that definition up to you, man. I really would. I mean, if it helps you, I can tell you what I wrote, but I would leave that definition up to you. Like, all this is about your future self, right? Um, but realistically, it's not difficult to really think about like what would be unique, because this is almost like creating like just like imagine your dream life, your dream version of Jordan, man. What would make Jordan unique? What would it be? Does it like is he able to have a nice balance of being very stern and being funny? Does he like I can tell you what I wrote. I just said um consistent energy that never shifts, right? Does not care about opinions, creates and builds his own reality, can take control of every room, which again, funny enough, I felt like I can do that to an extent, but there were times where I felt my energy shift very, very hard. Right. There was a point where like I would not that I was ever concerned about people's opinions, but I would hear something and I'd be like, slightly, but it was slight enough for me to be like, let me eliminate this. And that's what I want you guys to overthink this, right? I'm saying at the end of the day, it can be something so simple that like again, there is times where I like 99% of the rooms that I walked in, I feel like I can control all of them. but there was probably like 1%, maybe like, and at least at this time when I wrote this, I didn't feel that. But this is what will make me unique, and I wanted to set this in stone for who I was. And again, I've said it before, where I firmly believe I could walk into every room and take control. I've said that plenty of times, but at that moment, I didn't really feel that. And so it's simpler than you think. It's just those things that you value that you think would make you unique and compared to everybody else around you. So that's subjective to you, Jordan. Don't overthink that. Guys, unfortunately, I have to hop out of here. I can't be late for this meeting, but I appreciate everybody. Happy Saturday. I'll see you guys later.